Good tidings, all praise King Selassie. The purpose of this video is to discuss the current event of the eclipse and the broader issue of the sun and stars with respect to I faith, Rastafari. And it has come to our attention that many concepts of I are misconstrued, and the Babylonian internet is full of outright lies. So it is our hope to address these misconceptions. And although I do not have the support of the Babylonians, therefore my message may never reach the people, and I hope that the message at least reach someone. Because if someone is interested in finding more about Rastafari, if they look at the Babylonian device, they may never know. So this faith comes from within. That the only requirement I have is to obey the commands of my master, and in doing so I am given wisdom, which is truth, and all men seek truth, and yet the world is governed by the Prince of Darkness, which is the master of deception. So the sun is symbolic in our faith of man, in that the man gives light to the woman, symbolic of the moon. And yet as the man is head of the woman, so is the Christ head of the man. And so the Christ gives light unto man. Beginning in Genesis chapter 1, verse 16, Elohim, the Creator, made the sun and the moon. Now, the worship of these celestial bodies is strictly forbidden within our faith. I, having dissolved ourselves of all paganism, that when the accounts are made of our people seeking after other gods, other sources of life, and our people have been stricken down by our Creator, the King. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17, verse 2, if there be found among you with any of your gates those that worship either the sun, moon, or host of heaven, they shall be stoned. in the same book, in chapter 4, verse 16. The Lord is speaking to the children and pleading for them to obey the commands, lest they corrupt themselves and lift their eyes to heaven, seeing the sun, moon, stars, and being driven to worship and serve them. In the book of Acts, chapter 7, the account is made of the time when the children had worshipped the golden calf, and the Lord had turned the face and giving them to worship those constellations. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 8, Jeremiah warns the children. They have disobeyed the commands, bringing the bones of the kings of Judah and the bones of the princes and the priests and prophets and inhabitants of Jerusalem out of the graves, and setting them before the sun, the moon, and host of heaven, whom they have loved, whom they have served, after whom they have walked, and whom they have sought and worshipped. Yet they shall be as a dung. In chapter 10 of Jeremiah, thus says Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. These customs are in vain. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8, verse 16, as Ezekiel has a vision, this angel bringing him into the inner court of Lord's house, and between the porch and the altar 5 and 20 men with their backs towards the temple of the Lord and their face towards the sun that they worship. Then he said unto me, have you seen this, O Son of Man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here? For they have filled the land with violence. In the second book of Kings, during the reign of Josiah, which is known to have obtained favor in the sight of Lord, Josiah ordered the high priests and keepers to destroy the vessels in the house of Lord made for Baal and for the hosts of heaven. And he put down the idolatrous priests who burned incense unto Baal to the sun, to the moon, and to the planets. And Josiah being known as the last true servant of Lord, reigning over the children during this time. The book of Isaiah gives us the account in chapter 24 that the moon will be confounded and the sun ashamed as Lord reigns in Zion, carrying forth all manners of righteousness. Even the sun bows her head. And the sun is given command to stand still by Joshua in chapter 10 of his book, so that those anointed by will of Creator are given power even over the sun. In the book of Genesis, chapter 37, we know the account of Joseph's dream, in that the sun had given respect and obedience unto Joseph, the lowly one. And in respect to the end times, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 30, the sun is said to shine sevenfold in the day that Lord binds up the breach of his people and heals the stroke of their womb. Yet the sun in these times is also made dark, as proclaimed in Isaiah 13:10, 5:30, as well as Amos 8:9, Joel 2:10, 2:31, and 3:15. Acts 2:20, Mark 13:24, and Revelation 8:12, 9:2, and 6:12, when the sun is made black as sackcloth. In the book of Peter, the second book, it is found that the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and elements shall melt with fervent heat, the earth also and the works therein burned, giving power to this force symbolic of the Christ, who is known as the bright and morning star in the last chapter of Revelation. In the book of Nehemiah, chapter 7. Let not the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun be hot. The gates of the city of David opened as the Christ is here. In Revelation chapter 16, the sun is given power to scorch men as fire. In the same book, in chapter 10, the mighty angel's face shines as the sun. And in Matthew chapter 17, verse 2, as Peter, James, and John see the Christ, his face transfigured as the sun, and raiment as white as light. In Revelation chapter 1, the Christ in his right hand 7 stars, out of his mouth went a sharp two-edged sword, his countenance as the sun shining in his strength. And in chapter 12, a woman is clothed with this raiment of light, the sun. In the book of Samuel, the second book, chapter 23, the ruler of Israel is proclaimed to be as the light of the morning. The sun rises, a morning without clouds. The tender grass out of the earth by clear shining after the rain. That is how the anointed is to be. In the book of Judges, chapter 5, verse 31. Let all your enemies perish, Lord, yet them that love him as the sun when he goes forth in his might. Those that love and serve Lord to be as the sun in all might. In the book of Nahum, the sun arises, and those merchants of Babylon flee. In chapter 3, 17. In the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 5, judgment is portrayed as a light. And in Proverbs chapter 4, the path of the just as the shining light that shines more and more unto the perfect day. Covenant fulfilled. And then Matthew chapter 13. The righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. The righteous shine forth. In the book of Malachi, or Malachi, unto you that fear I name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth as calves of the stall, servants of his majesty. And in Psalms 136, the sun to rule by day, for the sun mercy forever. Well, whose mercy? Because the sun in the sky today does not seem merciful. So this prophecy spoken of as the Christ, the giver of life, which is righteousness symbolized by light. And in Psalms 19, the children, he has set a tabernacle for the sun in which as a bridegroom comes out of thy chamber. The Christ, having referred to himself as the bridegroom and the children as the bride, and the coming out of thy chamber is the righteousness shining forth from my heart. In chapter 84:11 of Psalms, the Lord, a sun and shield, will give grace and glory, as the sun has power to cleanse, to baptize with fire, giving unto grace and glory, because through righteousness I and I protected by our Father. In chapter 89, verse 36, I and I seed shall endure forever, and I and I throne as the sun before I and I throne as the sun. Again, follow the commandments of the ruler, King Selassie I. Then you shall be cleansed and given strength. In Micah chapter 3, verse 6, when there is no sun, night, and you shall have no vision, it shall be dark unto you, you shall not divine, and the sun shall go down over the prophets, and the day shall be dark over them, signifying that strength is lost because the people did not follow the way. In Acts chapter 27:20, as the account of Paul having sailed and being troubled by the weather, the sun and stars had not appeared, and those men had lost hope. And in the book of Job, chapter 37, now they see not the bright light which is in the clouds, as the people chosen to turn away from my command, they become blinded. My Father having covered face. And again in Acts chapter 13, verse 11, and now behold, the hand of Lord upon you, and you shall be blind, not seeing the sun for a season, because of mischief, calling this the child of the devil, an enemy of all righteousness. This is the consequence. Become as blind guides and dogs for having not followed high law. And in Matthew chapter 13 and Mark chapter 4, the parable of the seed when sown by the rock, it has no root because the sun scorches with fire. That seed must be planted in fertile ground, following the way of the Redeemer and not of man. The covenant is set forth before I people, even in Psalms 121, the sun shall not smite I by day, nor the moon by night, if I people listen to my master. And in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 10, they shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that has mercy on them shall lead them. Even by the springs of water shall he guide them. And I will make all thy mountains a way, and thy highways shall be exalted. In 58, chapter 58, verse 10 of Isaiah. You draw out your soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul. Then shall your light rise in obscurity, and your darkness as the noonday. And Lord shall guide you continually, and satisfy your soul in drought, and make fat your bones. And you shall be like a watered garden, and like a spring of water whose waters fail not. The story of Jonah, when given a gourd for shade, Jonah rested, and the sun, having come, made that tree to wither, and Jonah complained. And yet this story is one that tells of the struggle that coming to know the Redeemer is a road, and as in every road there are some bumps and turns, and I must stay forward through all trials and tribulations, for we, being tried 7 times in the fire, and yet by enduring, people are given a promise that must be fulfilled. For people know our Lord to be a Lord of truth and righteousness.